All right. Well, good morning and hello to everyone out there. Again, thanks for joining us here for our monthly webinar. So this month we're going to be going over Brokermint analytics, really going over the metrics that kind of are really going to matter and how to view some of the reports we're going to be going over today. So on the agenda for today, we have our agent performance data. We're going to be going over several reports for brokerage performance data. We'll go over how to create custom transaction reports and custom agent reports. And at the end, to wrap everything up, we're going to be going over our agent goal tracking. So goal tracking is going to be available for the standard and enterprise clients on new pricing. And as we go through this little opener here, you may see a set of polling questions come up. If you don't mind, we really value you guys' feedback. So if you could just go ahead and answer those as we go through this, we greatly appreciate it. So I'm your host and moderator today. My name is Frisco Doyle. And Taylor Reef is going to be going over all of the actual reports that we're going to be seeing today.
Well, thank you very much for that intro there, Frisco. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll get started with the screen share here on the appropriate monitor.
And I do see a quick question that came in just a little earlier from Andy saying, how do we mute the microphone? So you guys out there are already muted, so nothing you say we can actually hear. And that's why we say if you have a question to go ahead and use the Q&A window. And if you do happen to use the chat, by all means, try to refresh it back over. We good, Taylor? Awesome, awesome. All right, well, let's get this rocking.
All right, cool. So everyone, once again, thank you very much for joining us. My name is Taylor. Some of you may recognize my voice if you've worked with me before. We're going to be going over a lot of different stuff today, so we're going to go ahead and get started. The first thing that we're going to talk about on our agenda is reports, specifically agent performance data. So reports that have to do specifically with your agents. Before doing that, I do want to make sure that we kind of talk about really briefly just reports in general to make sure we're on the same page. Now, most of the people on this call today are probably admins or owners, brokers, so you've probably used reports before, but you may not be fully aware of all the features that they offer. So no matter which report you're looking at, any standard or custom report that you end up making inside of Brokermint, they all operate off the same four basic functions. The first thing is the data in the middle. Now you'll notice that most of the reports have hyperlinks on them that can click, but some reports like the agent report actually have a second layer that hyperlink will take you to. So for example, on this report here, if I click on this 12 next to Casey, it actually takes me into those 12 transactions that Casey had there. Now, another function that all of our reports have are filters. So in the upper right-hand corner of any report, you're able to filter in the information that you're looking for. So if you wanted to view a specific type of transaction or a specific status, or maybe transactions from your inactive users, you can do all of that utilizing the filters in the upper right corner of your reports. And then, of course, different reports would have different filters depending on which information you're looking for. Every report can also be expanded. So you'll notice right now on my screen, I have the report here to the right, and then I have all my Brokermint taskbar stuff to my left here. If we need to expand this report to make it a little easier on the eyes, just go ahead, give the expand button a click, and now it takes up your whole screen. Click it again, and it'll compact it again. Now, last but definitely not least here is your ability to export any of this data into a CSV file. You'll notice on your standard reports, you have a CSV button in the upper left. You can give that a click, and it'll export the data that you're looking at as the CSV file, which can then be opened up in Google Sheets or Excel or whatever sort of data sheet program you use. And then you can do any extra slicing and dicing of your data that you need to outside of Brokermint. Now that's kind of our general report overview here. So let's move on into our agent performance data. Now Brokermint offers a lot of standard standard reports. Every account will have access to that, so feel free to utilize these as often as you like. We're going to start off talking about the agent report today. This is probably the most used report inside of Brokermint, and it's easy to see why. It gives you a list of all of your agents, both active and inactive if you choose, and it tells you how many deals they have that matches the filters that you've set in the upper right. So as you can see, I have set this report to show me any transaction with a closing date year to date that is in a closed or pending status for all of my active users. It shows the data for all those transactions. The columns show us things like the name of the agent, when their anniversary was, how many deals they have, sales volume, office gross, agent net, even their office contribution. All that information is available to you right here, and you'll notice if we change these filters, like maybe we don't want to see closed and pending, we just want to see closed deals, we can do that, and the numbers change accordingly. Now, one function that you may not be aware of that our reports can do is sorting. So maybe you wanted to see this in reverse order. Right now, it's showing you the agent order by the amount of transactions they have. If you wanted to do that in reverse, you can actually click on transactions and it'll reverse that order for you. Maybe you prefer to look at your agents alphabetically. Same thing. You can just click on the agent name and it'll go ahead and put them alphabetical for you. If you'd rather start at the end of the alphabet, go ahead, give it another click, and there you go. Now, the agent report is super powerful because not only does it show you a lot of data right up front, but you can view these transactions individually. So you'll notice that Testy here has one transaction that meets these current filters. If we click on this one, it'll show us that one deal. Now, just because you get to the second layer and it's showing this data doesn't mean you're stuck with this. You can actually change the filters from within his profile here by just choosing any other information that you like. So if we want to go back to closed and pending, well, there you go. It'll switch it back to closed and pending there. Now, before I move on from the agent report, does anyone have any questions about this specific report or the general report overview that we started with? And feel free to utilize that Q&A box that we got.
So far, so good for now, Taylor. And for everybody else out there, don't necessarily just wait until we reach one of these pauses to ask. By all means, if a question comes to mind, go ahead and send it up. As soon as we get to a good section where we can answer it, we'll address it right away.
Yep. Perfect. Thanks for that, Frisco. So we're going to go ahead and move on to another very powerful agent report that I honestly think is a little bit underutilized. It's called our production report. It's towards the bottom of your standard reports list, right down here, second from the bottom. If you give that one a click, what you're going to notice is that just like the agent report, it gives you a list of agent names. However, it gives you slightly different data. It doesn't concentrate so much on telling you what their sales volume or what their commission numbers were, because that's already been covered with agent report. What this one focuses on is showing you trends. So you can see, for example, for this current month, how many pending deals do these agents have? How many closed deals do they have? How many active listings do they have? Pending listings, pending buyers, canceled deals. It shows you really nice trends here that you can look at for this month and see, okay, what do we have going on and what do we have coming up? If you know that, oh man, I have 5 pending deals for this agent for this current month, you can safely assume that they're going to have a pretty good month there. Of course, just like any of our other reports, you have filters in the upper right that you can use to filter in specific information. One of the things I really like about this is your ability to view either active or inactive users. As many of you may know, if you mark a user as inactive in Brokermint, it eliminates them from your active user total, but it still keeps their numbers inside of Brokermint. That way, when you get to the end of your year, all of their closed deals that they had for your brokerage still count. It does not eliminate that data. So if you wanted to specifically see, out of my inactive users, how many had a closed deal this month, you could switch that filter and see just those users. Once again, you can always export this data with the CSV button in the upper left.
Hey Taylor, so Lawrence earlier was wondering that they'd like to share stats from these reports with
Hmm.
agents, via something like the dashboard. Is there anything like that that can be set up currently?
Yeah, so within the dashboard, and we're going to be talking about this at the end, we do have a new feature that's out right now called goal tracking, where your agents can go into their dashboard and look at their company dollar contribution. Very useful for companies that use company dollar contribution as part of their sliding scale or tiered commission plans. But currently, there's no way of just clicking a button and exporting this data to an agent. What you would want to do is get the information that you want for that particular agent, probably from the agent report or maybe the closed sales report, and then export it with the CSV button. And then once it's in a CSV file, you can email that, or however internally you want to send that to your agent, whenever you like. And I see we had another thing come through the Q&A there. Exporting the report to HTML. We don't offer an export to HTML. Exporting only goes into a CSV file. If you have an enterprise account and you have access to your API key, we have had some people develop their own exporting functions like that through their API key, but it's not it's not currently something offered by Brokermint. And just to kind of bring this up now, since we have these are kind of more suggestions more than anything. If you guys have suggestions like that, please feel free to use our feedback portal. We recently came out with our agent dashboard that came directly from this. This feedback portal isn't some black hole that your opinions go into. You can, at any time, click on this feedback link here in the bottom right corner of your screen, and you can enter in ideas that you have for future enhancements to Brokermint, and then those can get voted on by any user that has access to Brokermint. The more votes something gets, the more we know people want it, and the more likely we are to add that as a future system enhancement.
So one last question real quick before we move on, Taylor.
Sure.
So so the actual question Nicole asked says, we all have deals structured under the rainmaker of a team and other agents as second agents. Will the second agent show up on the report or only the rainmaker? So essentially, I guess to kind of transcribe that in a more Brokerman sense, the transaction owner. It seems like their primary lead is put down as a transaction owner, and they have additional agents under there on a deal. So will these reports display any agent other than the transaction owner?
Yeah, so as long as that is the question being asked there, the answer is yes. So transaction owner, and this is something that we actually talked about in our last webinar, that by default is whoever creates the deal, but it can always be switched. Transaction owner is what will show up on things like closed sales report that isn't showing specific agent numbers. That's just showing generic commission information. But whatever agent is added into the commission section, that will show up on their agent report right in here. It doesn't matter who the owner is, it matters who's been added on the actual commission section. And then if it's any more specific than that, like if there's a certain specific way that you guys handle your transactions, I would definitely, since it does apply specifically to you, I would encourage you to reach out to us via like chat, email, telephone, or your direct account rep, and we can sit down with you and look at your specific scenario. All right. So let's keep moving forward unless something else came through, Frisco.
It looks like just one more question
Okay.
came through from Lawrence. This one specifically is about the number of transactions it displays, like right there on the agent report.
Sure.
If someone if an agent is representing both the listing and the buying, and it's displaying only one number on the total number of transactions.
Yeah, so that's a great question because it really kind of depends on how you create transactions in your system. And this is actually another topic that we talked about at our last webinar. But if you're creating the deal under one Brokermint transaction, whether you represent one side or both sides, it's going to still show up as one transaction. However, if you're following best practices, especially when there's two different agents on the deal and you're creating two separate transactions, then each agent would get one transaction on their agent report. And in regards to like a team report, yeah, just a lot of, I guess we got a question about, a team report. So we, of course, you can create one of those, but within these reports here, you'll notice that you have the ability to filter by teams. So if I go to Team Delta, for example, it'll show my 3 members that are part of Team Delta and their transactions that match that these filter sets up here. So really a lot of reports can do that. The closed sales report does it as well, I believe. Yeah, we have all teams up here. So you have a lot of different ways of viewing just team numbers.
All right. Well, thanks so much for that, Taylor, for the a lot of the insight into these agent reports here. If we could, let's go ahead and keep going.
Perfect. All right. So let's move on to brokerage performance data here. Brokerage performance data is numbers that relate to not specific agents, but your brokerage or team as a whole. Our most popular report for this, it's right in the name, it's called our brokerage report. This report is, frankly, it's just kind of awesome. So what it does is it shows you month by month how many new listings, new buy-side deals, new closed, and new canceled transactions that you have. So you can trend this out and actually see, when's your busy time, when's your slow time. All that information is right here sitting for you. It also has a second part at the bottom, not utilized as much, but still pretty cool, that shows you your agents and how many you've added, how many you've lost, and what your trend is. So you can see if you have any alarming trends when it comes to agent retention. I know that's a big topic for a lot of people. But the part we're going to focus on here today is this upper part where it talks about new transactions. As you can see, it shows it graphed out by month here, but you, of course, are not limited to just your current year. As we talked about before, you're going to have filters in the upper right, and you can actually use these filters to view previous years. So if you've been with us for a really long time, 2014, 2015 even, you can view all that data right here. You even have the option to do the last 12 months if you don't operate on a typical year-to-date calendar. So if you just want to see from October to October, for example, you can do that right here. Now, once again, you also have the teams options up here. You have different things that you can bring in, like sales volume and things like that. So if you want to see your sales volume numbers by month to month, or gross or office net, all that data is right here for you. Now, just like the agent report, this report has a second layer to it. So if we look at these new listings for November of 2017, we had 2 of them. We can actually click on that 2, and it'll show us those transactions. Now, what's really cool about that is it's going to show you its current status. So as you noticed, I clicked on a 2 from back in, I think it was like October or November, or there it is, November of 2017. Well, we've actually closed one of those deals. Probably should have closed this other one by now too, but this is just a dummy transaction, so we'll leave it alone. But it will tell you the current status, so you can easily see, if you had 20 new listings 2 months ago, you could click on that number and see how many of those have closed, and you can see how successful your close rate has been. All that data is right here. You can, of course, click on the URL link right here for the transaction to go into the actual specific transaction if you want to. Now, something I want to talk about here really briefly, it's a little bit outside of specifically reports, but I think it's a very powerful tool that you have available to you, is having multiple tabs open of Brokermint at a time. While you can do what I just showed you and click on this report, on this transaction here, I personally always suggest to my clients to just open up a second tab of Brokermint. That way you're not having to hit back and forth and losing your place on the report and all that type of stuff. So let's say that we clicked on new listings here and we wanted to see this 4195 Kingsley. Well, rather than clicking on this and having to hit back when we're ready to move back into the report, you can actually right-click on your tab inside of your browser and hit duplicate. Once again, this is not a Brokermint feature. This is available to anyone with a web browser. You can then go into transactions, and you can find that particular transaction. Once again, we were looking for 4195 Kingly, so we can go to 4195, give it a click, and we can view any documents or commission information that we needed to view. If we want to go back into the report, great, you just hit the tab, and now we're right back in the report. If we need to find 123 Main Street, great, go into the tab, 123 Main Street. And you can open as many tabs as you like. You're not limited to just one, so feel free to get crazy there and open up 30 tabs like I have. But a really cool function that you have available to you. Any questions about this brokerage report?
Nothing coming in so far, Taylor. Looks like everyone's got it down.
Cool. All right, so let's move on to the closed sales report. This report is a widely used report. You've probably used it yourself, but what it does is it shows you all closed sales across whatever filters you have set up here. So if you wanted to view your closed sales within the last month or this month, very easy to do. You just give it a click there. Now you also have the ability on here to switch between teams like we've already talked about, but what I really like about this report is that it doesn't worry about specific agents. It just shows your closed deals, so you can just easily see all of your closed deals across a specific time period. A really cool filter that we have here is, we've given you a lot of default options, like year to date and this week and all that jazz. Well, you can actually click custom date range and put in any date range that you want. So if you wanted to see the amount of closed deals you've had since July 11th of 2018, but only up until August 29th of 2018, get crazy. Go ahead, put that date in there, hit apply, and there's the one closed deal that we have that matches that particular filter set. Now, another very powerful tool that we have here is the lead sources filter. Now, if I go back into closed year to date, now here's all these transactions. Now, one of the things that we should really be doing here is going ahead and clicking on this lead source. If you guys have set up lead sources in your transaction fields, you can actually filter by those right here inside of this report and see how successful a specific lead source has been for you. So if you want to see how many closed deals you bring in from Zillow compared to personal sphere or a radio campaign versus an ad campaign, you can add all those lead sources into your Brokermint, make it a required field so your agents have to enter it, and then you'll be able to filter by that, and it's pre-built into the system. No extra work needed there. Now the closed sales report, it's powerful but simple, and I know a lot of you have probably used it, so I'm going to pause here. Any questions on any of this?
Report-wise, looks like we're all clear. Victoria, just to answer your question that came in through chat, yes, this recording will be available later once we, probably after, just a couple of days, give us a chance to clean it up and post it onto the site, and everything will be available via the knowledge base. So we'll send a notification out to you, and then whenever you can, just hop into the knowledge base, and you'll be able to type in webinar, and it should appear for you.
And I saw the question come in through Q&A here, so I'm going to address that very quickly. It's outside of the scope, but let's just go ahead and tackle it here. If you don't know how to make a certain field required in Brokermint, the way that you do is just go into your fields, go into transaction fields, click on whatever field it is. Let's say that we wanted it to be lead source. Here's our lead source here. Add in whatever options you want to add in. Let's say it's Zillow and Facebook and an ad campaign. Add in those options, and then you have your required button right here. You can either make it required always or only when a transaction's in a certain status. So if certain information's only known right before closing, you can make it required right before closing, hit save, and now anytime you close a deal, this field will have to be entered in. If you'd rather just make it always, I would just, something like lead source especially, just leave it as always and hit save, and anytime your agent creates a deal, they'll have to choose one of those options, and then that information will flow into your reports.
So, Taylor, we got two more. One came in through chat, and if you don't mind, Courtney, if you could also post that into the Q&A, greatly appreciate that there as well. But Courtney's question is there a report for rejected and past due documents? reports?
We actually do, and so you'll have it right here. Where is it? Transaction documents report. And what this will show you is things that are missing, things that have not been submitted, things that are pending review, rejected. All that information will be right here for you, and it'll tell you how many documents are overdue versus how many are just missing. And Linda, to answer your question there, are individual agents have access to reports? They do not. You would have to give them that user permission, but if you give them permission to reports, they're actually able to view reports across the entire system. If you want to give a report to an agent, though, populate it with whatever information it is that they need access to, hit the CSV button, and you can email it to them or print it and hand it to them, however you want to do that. For those of you who would like to see agent reports in the future, it's already an item on our feedback portal. Please add your vote to it so that we can, prioritize that accordingly. All right, so let's move on to custom reports. So something that Brokermint has released here about a month or so ago, maybe 2, is the ability to create your own custom reports. This is available to all users across all, it doesn't matter if you're a simple start, from 4 years ago or a brand new enterprise client. Everyone can create new custom reports. The way to do that is to navigate into your reports section and click on Add Report. When you click on Add Report, you'll notice that you have 2 different types of reports that you can currently build. Commissions we're hoping to come out before the end of this year. We are working on it. But right now, it's transactions and agents. And the way that you do this is we'll start off with transactions. You click on transactions and you start to build the report. First thing to do, probably just put in a name. So we'll just call this one New Report Alpha for right now. And what's really nice about this is not only do you get to choose what filters that you want by just clicking on Add Filter, you can even put in default filter options. So for example, if you wanted this report, whenever you open it, to always just show you deals that have been closed this quarter, you can go ahead and add in the option Quarter to Date. That'll add it right there to date closed. You'll be able to change that once you open the report if you want to expand or collapse it a bit, but the default will now be this deals that were closed in the last quarter. After you're done adding or removing any filters that you want to add, you can then go into your columns and you can add up to any 10 columns that you want. Now, what's really cool and powerful about this is that you can add a column for any field that you've added into Brokermint in that same field section we looked at earlier. So if you added in a field for full bass or half bass and you want a bath report, you can totally do that. You would just add those fields in there and continue on down and add any other field that you need. Add in all the columns, add in any of the filters. All you have to do then is hit Create. So here we go. Here's the 4 deals that we have that have closed in the last quarter. I have never put any bath information in there, otherwise the data would be populating in here. Once again, if we want to expand this, we're like, okay, that's quarter to date, but now I want to see the last year or something like that. So just switch it to year to date, hit Apply, and now it's going to show you all the deals that you've closed in the last year, and there's that bath information we talked about. Now, because these are custom reports, you can even modify the column size. So if you have the owner on there, but you're kind of good on it, you want to squeeze it, you can go ahead and just squeeze whatever columns you want. You can expand them, do all that stuff. Just keep in mind, it does have a 10-column limit there. Now, just like the standard reports, you can hit full screen to go full screen, you can hit export to export, or you can hit configure if you want to modify which fields and filters or names you have on this report. Now, if you ever decide, what, this report just wasn't doing what I wanted to do, I want to start from scratch, feel free to hit configure, and you can also delete any report that you do not want.
So we got a few things coming in if you've got a moment, Taylor.
Yep, sure.
So Richard says team transactions. So he wants to know if we can create a team report that gives the team leader credit for commission It says it's not for payment purposes, for award purposes only.
Oh yeah, so it's not a report that you'd be creating. You can just create the transactions like that, and it'll show like that in your reports. That's something I would definitely schedule in a time with. It's a little bit outside of the scope of what we're talking about today, because once again, it's not a specific report you're looking for, it's how you're actually creating your transactions. And yes, to answer the question from Randy there, you can create a lead source report as well. You would just make sure to add in a field called lead source or modify the one that already exists, and then create a transaction report, add in the column for lead source. Once again, it's any field that's inside of Brokermint.
And another one came in from Robbie. So this one came in via chat. And if you guys could, please use the Q&A. It makes it so much easier for us to keep track of the questions that come in. But for you, Robbie, he wants to know if sometimes we create a transaction, but the agent hasn't been paid due to waiting on check delivery. Is there a way to track closed commissions, closed transactions that are paid or unpaid?
Yeah, you could do that. The best way of probably doing it would be to create a field in Brokermint with a yes/no option called agent paid question mark, and then you could mark it as yes or no at the appropriate time, and then you would then make a custom report using that field, and then you could see the yes or the no next to everybody.
All right, well, appreciate that info, Taylor. That's it for the questions for now.
Great. And by the way, it wouldn't show up in a report, but another way of doing that is you could add that as a checklist item, agent paid or not paid, and then you could just check the box, and then you could use your calendar to view which ones have been checked or not. That's another option, but the report one's probably the best way. And I hope I didn't open up a can of worms by mentioning the calendar there. Anyways, so to make another report, like an agent-based report, it's the exact same process. You would hit Add Report, you'd click on Agents, and now what you're going to be doing is the same thing. You just give it a name. Let's say that we want to call this our birthday report. You really want to keep track of those agent birthdays and make sure you send them a card, because I know everyone's still handwriting birthday cards. So you put in birthday report. You can add in, once again, any filters that you need. Now, what the difference is you're going to notice that most of these filters are related to agent information more so than transactions, because once again, this is an agent report. You can, on this report, get some very basic commission information. You'll notice you have some stuff like office contribution or office net, so those are total valid reasons to make this report as well. But the majority of people seem to be using this to keep track of agent information. So what you're going to notice is a lot of these fields, rather than being transaction fields, they're your user fields. So as long as you have a user field in there for birthday, you can go ahead, add that as a field, add in whatever other columns you want, hit create, and now you have a list of your agents. You have all of those other columns that you added. And then at the end here, there's the birthdays. If you want to sort it by birthday, great. You can click the amount on top here and sort it there. And it'll show you all those birthdays, and you can easily keep track of that. Once again, it's not specific to birthdays. It's any user field that you have, or any like general commission information like office contribution field that you may have added in there. This is a great way for people who use things like office contribution in their commission plans to just make a very basic report that shows you, hey, this is where they're at in the last month, or year to date, or anniversary date, or whatever option you have there in your commission plans. Now, it is a very similar process, so I don't want to spend too much time here if we don't have any questions. Any questions on how to make an agent report? And just to make sure no one's confused there, when I talk about user fields, that's within the field section, but rather than being transaction fields, user fields, you can add whatever fields you need to in here. These will then show up on agents' user profiles.
All right, seems like everyone's all good for now, Taylor.
Cool. All right, so let's get into the brand new stuff. What we're going to talk about now is agent goal tracking. Now, once again, this is only available to people on our new pricing, which correct me if I'm wrong here, Frisco, was May 1st of this year? Correct, cool. All right, so yeah, anyone from May 1st on that's on our new pricing, that's on a standard or an enterprise plan. And what this agent goal tracking does is give you give your agents easy visibility to be able to track where they're at in terms of company dollar contribution. So the way that you would want to do that is we have to start off with a demo of it. We show it to you. So you'd want to schedule an appointment with us. Once you schedule the appointment and we show it off to you and you decide, yes, I love this and I want it, or no, it's not for me, we can turn it on for you. Once it's turned on, what it will do is it's going to add a new field into your user field section called annual cap. What that field is the amount that you want them to track for their company dollar contribution. So we added in this field called annual cap. Once again, we'll do that for you. You can then go into any one of your users, click edit, and add in the amount that you want to be as their goal. And once again, this is an anniversary goal. So for this agent, we want them to contribute $85,000 towards company dollar contribution between May 8th of every year. And what will happen is once we plug that number in, whenever the agent goes into their dashboard, they'll actually see how far along their cap they are. So as you can see, as the agent I'm logged in right now, I haven't made very much progress. I'm only at $1,800 here. So I have a goal from my particular user profile of $100,000. I'm at about $1,800 there, so I'm about 2% of my way. And you can easily see right on here how far we are. The green part is how much we've contributed. The gray part is representing $100,000. It's also going to chart it out for you here. And so if we, here was $1,000, that's why the chart ticked up a little bit. And you can see where the money went. And then we added another $1,000 in September, so the chart ticked up once again. Once again, this is tracking agent company dollar contribution by that agent. If the agent is on a team, you can set it up to track that team as well. The way that you would want to do that is make sure that all people have been added to the team. So the first step would be to click on an agent, click edit, make sure that they're on the team. So Danny Demo here is in Team Delta. We'd then hit save. Chad Reef is our other member of Team Delta, so we'd hit edit and make sure that he's also a part of Team Delta. The next step there is to make sure that they all have the same goal, because this is a team goal. So we'd hit edit, go into our annual cap. All right, Danny Demo is set up for $85,000. Chad Reef, the other team member, great. He's also at $85,000. And so now what would happen if we were to log in as one of these agents is when they go in to their dashboard, they can see how much individually they've contributed towards that team goal, and also where the team as a whole is towards that $85,000 goal there. So this Danny Demo guy hasn't done much towards the goal. He's only at $800. And that was actually contributed by the team, not even him. If he wanted to see just his individual number, he could deselect team there. If he wants to see just team, he could deselect personal. But once again, everything will be charted out right here. There's a nice graph representation of it here. And then this time left here says how much longer he has until he hits his next anniversary.
So Taylor, can we, question came in from Victoria, wants to know, can we change the agent anniversary date to an annual date for their goal for 2018, for example?
Yeah, so I mean, what you would have to do there, because the only field that the agent goal tracking currently uses is anniversary. So what you would want to do is plug that amount in here to the anniversary date. The one thing that you just have to keep in mind is, does that affect any of your commission plans, something like that? But whatever number you plug in here will be their date. So if you wanted it to be year to date, you could just do January 1st or December 31st, however you want to handle that. But yeah, you just want to plug that date in here.
All right. Well, thanks for that, Taylor. That was the only other question I see that came in about the goal tracking here. We did have one to back up just a little bit, just asking if reports can be scheduled to go out via email.
Oh, so there's no way of scheduling them. I mean, I have had a client use their API key and they actually developed a way of doing that. But in terms of Brokermint, no, you would have to hit the export button and then email it whenever you would like to. Can we just track the agent's income? I mean, yeah. So on the agent report, you have agent net. So you can easily keep track of agent income right there. On the dashboard. Yeah, so currently, no. We are going to be expanding the dashboard to be able to include things like sales volume, agent net, agent gross. Right now, it's just not there yet. Right now, it just tracks company dollar contribution. All right. Well, and that wraps up my part of this. We're going to leave the meeting open here, for a few more minutes just to see if any more questions come through. You're also going to see an exit poll pop up. Please feel free to answer those questions. We love to get feedback from clients. And just to kind of wrap things up here a little bit, if you have any questions about anything that you had, you're probably going to stew on this for a bit and then think of some questions in an hour. Feel free to ask us. You can always email us, call us. We also have our online chat. We also have our video guides. Our video guides is going to actually be where this recording is going to end up being, but we also have a lot more than just webinars up here. We have everything from agent training videos to admin training videos to very specific how do I split a document type questions. Please feel free to utilize that as often as you like. It's also, of course, available to your agents. The need help button will also take you to our feedback. So any of that feedback that you all have had in terms of like what you'd like to see from the agent goal tracking or what you'd like to see in terms of like agent reports or automated emails, all of that stuff is fantastic items for our feedback. So please click on feedback, search for the idea, see if anyone's made it before you, because a lot of people have common ideas. So please feel free to add your vote to anything that you like. If it's not on there, you can add any idea that you like. Tell your agents to go, tell them you'll waive their E&O fee if they go and vote on all your ideas or something like that. But and they can go ahead and vote on ideas and move it up our list there.
Well, thank you, Taylor, for everything you've kind of gone over with all these reports. I know it's a lot of information for you guys, so by all means, reach out because I know a lot of you might not have questions that come up now. We do have a few that came in.
Yeah.
One thing says, can we shut off the goal cap for the dashboard?
Yes. Yeah. So we can turn on just the dashboard if you like, so that it just shows you things like company updates and links and recent transactions. And the nice thing about that is that's available to clients on the I believe that's Simple Start as well, or is that just standard?
Standard.
All right, so standard and enterprise clients, so we can turn that on for you, just the dashboard. Goal tracking is not a required piece there.
Now, another question came in from Arlene. Hi, Arlene. How are you? So, could you please go over the agent repayment report again? For example, knowing if a check was paid.
So you're talking about two different things. The agent payment report, or if you're talking about the payments report, that tracks tags. Oh, you're talking about that, what we talked about, the custom report. Yeah, so what I was telling that gentleman is that if you guys add in a field into transaction field, something like agent paid, and then you just make it a drop down and call it, give it two options, yes or no, and make it like a required upon closing or something like that. You could go ahead and set that field up, and then you can then make any custom report you like using that field. And then, of course, that would just be following the process of going into reports, making a new report, making it transaction-based, and then adding in that agent paid field that we just added in there. And then you could easily use this report to see, was the agent paid? It will say yes or no next to all of your deals. And then you would just update the no's to yeses once they've been paid. And then, of course, the report will update.
All right. For a few more of the questions that came in for Darren, I know you joined late, and for anyone else that joined late, yes, this recording will be available later. We'll clean it up a little bit, and it'll be accessible from our knowledge base as one place. So if you just go into our video guides, you'll be able to type in webinar when it's ready. It'll be there. It'll also be posted to a few of our other sites as well. So if you do use our YouTube page to view, a lot of our other videos, it will be there as well. So Linda also came in and asks if you could clarify, as the owner of the dashboard, I see a funnel. What do my agents see? The dashboard on this?
Well, I think what you're seeing is this,
Yeah,
which
that's the
is that's a
pipeline.
pipeline. So the dashboard is something different. This is a new feature that we have to turn on. So please just, if the dashboard's something that you want and you're on a standard and enterprise plan, you can turn that, just let us know. We can turn it on for you. The goal tracking, which is the extended part of the dashboard, that's only available to clients on our new pricing structure that are on an enterprise or a standard. So your agents would see where they're at on their goal. The pipeline is totally different. This is showing your agents what their current month's listing pending and closed deals are, while also showing them what their previous 5 months of closed and canceled deals look like. And as to why you can't see the dashboard, Stephen, if you've never if you're not on a standard or an enterprise plan, you haven't requested to have it turned on, it has not been turned on for you. You can reach out to your account rep or chat or whatever it is that you want there, and we can get that turned on for you as long as you're in a standard or an enterprise plan.
So another question did come in from Nicholas, and before I address this one though, there's still a lot of you guys left, and if you really could, please, please, please go ahead and answer those polling questions. The more responses we get back to that, the more we're able to kind of improve the topics we cover, as well as the experience you guys get from joining these webinars. So Nicholas did show up here, and he wants to know, can the dashboard be set as the default opening page?
No. So the default opening page is going to be the transactions page. The dashboard is a click away there. Reason we got on that is when agents go in, honestly, most agents, when they go to a dashboard, they initially get confused, and we got a kind of a little bit of a negative feedback about that because they couldn't figure out how to click transactions and hit create transaction. So we're leaving this as the main page because it's still the most used page in Brokermint, but they can very easily click on dashboard and view any updates, links, recent deals, all that type of stuff.
And for Victoria, she wants to know if she does turn goals on, will she still see the pipeline? So
Yes.
yeah, just like Taylor covered earlier, the pipeline is not actually a part of the dashboard. If Taylor scrolls up for just a sec,
Oh,
you'd be able to see that the pipeline is its own separate tab over here. So nothing that we ever turn on or turn off is ever going to get rid of your pipeline. It'll always be available for you.
and then we also got a question from Victoria. Can you customize the dashboard? I mean, it depends on what you mean by customize. If you're talking about the names and the data that's inside of these boxes here, yes. Anyone with the user permission to customize dashboard can click on this little pencil inside of a square icon, and you can click on that and change this to whatever you want. And then within the text itself is where you can do things like embed videos, insert images, provide links, hey, we're having a luncheon tomorrow at 12, whatever data you want to put in there. And then of course, for these other two boxes, you can click on the same pencil icon and put in any useful links that you want, like links to maybe the MLS or your guys' company page or YouTube page or a Brokermint training site, perhaps. You can put anything you like in there. Can you stream a feed? What do you mean by that, Andy? Oh, can you live stream a feed in there? I don't believe so. You can embed videos, but in terms of like a live stream, I don't believe so. It's an interesting question. Well, and I'm gonna actually ask about that one. I don't believe so, though. Any other questions about anything? Perfect. Yeah. So Andy, that's exactly what we're talking about. Please add that to our feedback portal. So if that's something that you would like to see, throw it on in there. We'll see, what we get in terms of feedback on it. Because, if the people want it, we want to provide it.
All right. Well, it looks like we're coming about up on time here. So again, thanks to Taylor for really giving us all that great information. Thanks to all you guys for joining us here. And if there's nothing coming in at the last second, we're gonna start winding this down. And again, have a great day, guys. And we hope to see you at the next webinar.